Welcome back to the Larson Show. It's a pleasure to be with you. Glad that you're listening on the Radio Northwest Network. We serve the Pacific Northwest through 24 great radio stations in every city in the Pacific Northwest in Oregon, Washington, and Idaho. And we'll get to your calls here shortly at 866-HEY-LARS. That's 866-439-5277. Emails go to talk@larson.com. And when there's been a major problem in the state, there have been few people. I don't think there's anybody in the state of Washington that can match what conservative activist Tim Eyman has done. So many ballot measures, so many efforts to go out and let the people have their voice about which laws should control us and how much we have to pay on our car tabs as well. And yet, Tim finds himself in the bullseye. You know, you understand why. The liberals and the elites in Olympia don't like what he's been doing for folks, so they go after him. Tim, welcome to the program. What are they doing to you lately?
Well, it's always a joy, But, you know, you got the same thing, being on talk radio and having such a voice and everything, is that if you're taking shots at them, they're going to take shots at you. But we're really 100% focused on getting our latest $30 tabs initiative qualified for the ballot. We are really getting close. We've collected 250,000 signatures in the last 4 months, and in the next 3 months, we need another 75,000 in order to be able to make it. So we're doing really good, making great progress. This is the measure that says when you license your car and it's really expensive, and whether it's your van or your motorcycle or your motorhome or whatever, it's really expensive. We're trying to make it where it's a flat rate $30 that you license your vehicle for in the state of Washington. It's a real neat initiative, and we're just banging away at the Puyallup Fair, and I invite everybody that goes to the Puyallup Fair to swing by either our booth or the Republican booth and sign a petition. I was there this weekend, and people are just lining up to sign. It's really exciting.
Well, and Tim, I know that you fine-tune these things as we go along. I mean, we'd rather that all ballot measures were written letter perfect the day they first hit the ballot. But you've had that experience, but each time you fine-tune it again to make sure that the folks in Olympia who want to take away our right to have a say in government can't defeat it in the courts. How's this one written, and is this one going to survive the legal challenges that are virtually guaranteed to come?
Well, you know, as the military says, learn, adapt, and persevere. Learn, adapt, and persevere. So, yes, the first initiative we did on $30 tabs, it got us a long way down there. The court struck it down, said you didn't do it on a single subject. So 3 years later, we did it again. That initiative was upheld by the courts. And so we learned a lot from that experience as well. It's been down for about 15 years or so. We've kept them low, but it's only in recent years that they kind of jacked them back up again. And so the metaphor I always use is you just got to mow the lawn periodically. You can't just assume that mowing it the one time is going to keep the grass down. It's going to keep growing back, and you can't just throw up your hands and say, well, I mowed it once. Why didn't it just stay down? It's like it is just the nature of government that they're always going to be in this tug of war with us, and it's no excuse to say, well, it didn't last forever, so therefore why do it again? For 15 years, we've saved taxpayers billions of dollars by getting them down. We can't let them get away with jacking them back up again without a forcible response.
So what's the Attorney General doing to your wife?
It is pretty extraordinary. I spoke to a Republican group, and I literally couldn't keep my composure, and I ended up choking up and tearing up, and I couldn't get through the whole thing. So I'll give it a shot again. I'm being sued by the Attorney General. It's been going on. This government attack on me has been going on for about 6 years now, kind of a nonstop deal, basically a ball and chain I've had to drag around with me for the last 6 years. But, yeah, recently he subpoenaed my wife and sought to bring her in for interrogation and depose her for multiple hours. And the thing that is gnawing at me is that, you know, she's a full-time mom, doesn't have anything to do with my politics. She's frankly opposites attract. She's a very private person, and there's a thing called spousal privilege and all these kind of things. But it doesn't matter to this Attorney General. He's dragging her into it in order to be able to make this as miserable experience as possible for me. And the thing that I've learned over the last 7 years is that when you're dealing with these kind of lawsuits where the government is coming after you, it doesn't matter if you're a saint or a sinner, innocent or guilty, the process becomes the punishment.
Yeah, because in this case, if he says, well, from a legal standpoint, we can't get much from the man's wife because of spousal privilege. But if we drag her in, and correct me if I'm wrong, put her in an hours-long deposition. I've been in depositions on both sides where I've been the person being questioned, and I've been in depositions where I've been the person doing the questioning, not as an attorney, but watching it. They are not fun. And you realize as you sit there, every single jot and tittle, every word, the way a word is said, the words you arrange one way or another could mean a good outcome or a bad outcome. So they put a lot of pressure on a person. And so to do this, to say, well, I'm going to drag Tim Eyman's wife through all this, because the more pressure I can put on him, the more likely it might be. I think in your case it's not likely, but that if I can put a lot of pressure on him at home, at some point his wife and his family is going to say, hey, can we just give this up? Because it'd be a lot easier just to cave in and let them have their win, and we'll walk away if they put the pressure there. And they can do it by just, dragging your family through this. Am I wrong?
Absolutely. I mean, I've been at this for 20 years. I mean, I've developed a real dinosaur skin when it comes to this kind of stuff. I've had to sit through 3 depositions over the last 7 years, and it is an incredibly unfun experience. But I can absolutely handle it because it's kind of the normal process that you expect from politics. And I don't want to give the wrong impression. My wife is a strong woman. She can handle herself just fine. She's had some incredible challenges in her life, and I know she'll make it through it. But man, it's really extremely frustrating to watch that kind of thing happen.
Yeah, it is, Tim. I'm sorry. I think people can understand why you get shook, because when your family comes under attack, I've had that too. When your family comes under attack, you say, it's important work I'm doing, but how much do I want to put my family through to make this happen? And when people like Bob Ferguson, the Attorney General, decide we're going to do what, we're going to pull out all the stops, we're going to sharpen up our knives, and we're going to go after this to win what? Because all you're asking for is that the people of the state of Washington get a chance, as guaranteed in the Constitution, to go to the polls and say yes or no to certain public policy choices. It's a great way to do government. It's a great safeguard and a check on the legislative end of things. So when the legislature does crazy things, and the public says we didn't want them to do that, even though they're supposed to be your representatives, in both Oregon and Washington, the public has pushed back and said, no, you're not doing it that way. But if they can put the squeeze on you and your family, they think they can win it that way. I think that's a lousy way to do government.
Well, and I really appreciate you giving me a chance to get my composure back. I think one of the major motivations that I had, my wife and I ended up selling off our retirement fund, and we loaned the $30 tabs initiative $500,000 in order to be able to get this initiative in a position to be able to succeed and qualify for the ballot. And I'd be lying if I didn't say that one of the motivations behind doing that was that part of the lawsuit by Bob Ferguson, and he said this on day one when he launched it, is he said, it's not just about money. It's not just the fact that we want to get $2.1 million out of Eyman and his family, which, by the way, we don't have. But the goal of the lawsuit, the stated goal, is to seek a lifetime ban on all future political activity. And there was simply no way that while that was going on, while that was what he was seeking, his goal was, well, until this is resolved, there's no way Eyman can possibly get an initiative on the ballot while this is going on. So we're going to make this thing last 7 years, and we're going to keep dragging it out for as long as we can, because as long as that happens, there's no way that he's going to be successful at getting an initiative on the ballot. And I'm out to prove him wrong. And what's really inspiring is that there are so many people that have heard about this, that know about this, and that they're motivated to help us get this initiative qualified for the ballot, because on the merits of the policy, everybody wants the policy. But I think that we also recognize the fact that there's somebody running for governor that wants to do it by suing conservatives, and suing the president and suing a poor woman in the Tri-Cities who didn't want to do a gay wedding and suing a football coach because he wants to pray out of after football games. It just so happens that only conservatives are the ones being targeted by this attorney general, and this is a great way to fight back and show that no matter what he can do to me, he can't stop our ideas from making it onto the ballot.
You know, there's a reason, Tim, that a lot of states have said slap suits are banned. And, you know, slap are the selective litigation against political participation. I mean, a lawsuit, when you claim you've been damaged, is one thing, whether you're a government agency or an individual. But to say, if I sue this person enough, I will get them to shut up, is as un-American an idea as I can ever imagine. Tim, keep up the good work. Where can people find more info on the ballot measure?
I really appreciate it. It's 30tabs.com. That's 30tabs.com, the number 3, the number 0, and then tabs.com. I really encourage people to help us get this initiative on the ballot. Again, we're on the verge of being able to make it, but we've got from now until the end of December to collect those signatures. So go to that website again, 30tabs.com. 30tabs.com.
Always a pleasure. Tim Eyman, conservative activist in Washington State, and currently his family under attack from the Attorney General, who's using your taxpayer money to try to silence a critic. Yeah, we got a lot of that going on these days. Facebook and Rob Ferguson. Back in just a moment. You're listening to The Lars Larson Show.